Okay, guys, thank you for coming. The chat box, is open. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, you can type in. Today, we are going to go over general guidelines that have been established over the years in human-computer interaction. So by reviewing the general guidelines, you will have some understanding about what's good, what is bad in terms of user interface design. And I hope it will help you to design better systems and interfaces in your projects and in your career. So general guidelines have been established over the years how the graphical user interface should be designed. They are actually based on common characteristics in successful user interfaces, in effective user interfaces. Some people call it as golden rules. So unless there is a opposite reason, well-defined reason, when we follow these golden rules, then our interface will be relatively better than the ones who doesn't. These are called as usability heuristics because they are more in the nature of rules of thumb than man-made guidelines. The famous Jakob Nielsen suggested these as general guidelines and principles. There is a guy named as Jakob Nielsen, together with Donald Norman. They have a Nielsen-Norman group. You can visit that site, nngroup.com. The guy is actually Danish, Jakob Nielsen. Donald Norman is American. And together they form a well-known worldwide research and usability group. And Jakob Nielsen is more towards turning this knowledge into money, but Donald Norman is more like a philosopher. So they both make a good group together. In this website, there are some free documents that you can read and benefit a lot, as well as paid trainings, announcements, and paid documents and reports for designing successful user interfaces. So Jakob Nielsen developed these principles, 10 principles. There are 10 main principles, and then there are other principles that we are going to talk. These principles can be named as follows. 1, visibility of system status. You have to see the information in order to get it. So you have to provide the information, and it has to be visible. Second, match between system and the real world. If there is a fire in real life, then it must be associated with red color. If there is an increase in level of some liquid, then the interface should have an increasing display. So if there is an editing process, then edit button must match with the edit action, such as having a caret or pencil or something like that in order to change the settings. So the real life analogy is interesting, match between system and the real world. I am going to go over them one by one in coming slides. 3. User control and freedom. 4. Consistency and standards. So it shouldn't be like disorganized members of a user interface. It has to be of the same kind within the user interface and within the platform. Errors are natural, so errors must be attributed to the system, not the user. Therefore, you need to design systems that prevents errors. You should not blame people who are making errors. 6. The interface must rely on recognition rather than recall. So recall is difficult. You have to remember the command. But recognition is much easier and intuitive. 7. Flexibility and efficiency of use. So there could be more than one way of doing something, which is fine. Some people prefer one way, some people prefer the other way, such as using the file menu and clicking down, or using the shortcut or the short key with the control key or Apple key. So it makes it more efficient for different types of population. 8. Minimalism and aesthetic appearance. So minimalism is good. Aestheticism is good. Aestheticism is somewhat related to, I'm going to talk about it, with symmetry. Okay, symmetry, alignment, and adjustment and balance of the white spaces and colors. So if you make it that way, then symmetry and alignments are a measure of aesthetic and minimalist design. When users go into errors, they need recovery. So messages like system error occurred is not preferable. So you need to recover the user from the error by certain different means, which I will talk about later. And finally, help and documentation must be provided when necessary. Help is not a document, paper document, sitting in the drawer or sitting in the cabinet. Help must be available whenever is needed, which is becoming interesting with the help of artificial intelligence bots. So the system may understand what you are trying to do, what you are trying to accomplish using the system, and then help you. Similar to people in stores approaching you, saying, "How may I help you?" So they understand that they look at you at the beginning, and then they understand that you need help, then they approach. So I'm going to go over them one by one. The visibility of system status is the fundamental thing. The system should always keep users. By the way, these are taken from Jakob Nielsen's website. So you can find and reach these to Jakob Nielsen's website, ISO standards website, because these are well defined, and also in other books, other HCI books. These are almost standard in the world. The system should always keep users informed about what is going on through appropriate feedback within reasonable time. So that doesn't mean that you always have to say, "Evet efendim, sepet efendim, this, I have done this, I have done this, that, that." That must be excessive. So superior interface should contain appropriate level of feedback. Not much, not less. If user is accomplishing, finishing certain tasks, design positive messages. Recorded, finished, saved. Okay? So when user is performed some action, the result of the action must be confirmed. A good interface confirms. The confirmation could be done with a dialogue or a subtle status message. If it is happening frequently, then dialogue may not be good, because popping up a dialogue all the time, frequently, is tiring, because you have to reposition the mouse. Auto repositioning the mouse is dangerous because the user's hand, mouse. User's hand with the mouse is placed somewhere, and when dialogue comes, you move your mouse on top of the dialogue. If you reposition the dialogue automatically to the OK button and expect person to click once because it was necessary to click for continuing, that is dangerous, because users lose the location of the mouse in their haptic memory. Therefore, they have to re-understand where the mouse is. Mouse is relocated, and then they have to readjust themselves, which is more confusing than moving the mouse to the dialogue. Therefore, new applications, many new applications, do not relocate the mouse in the desktop, but expect you to relocate it to the dialogue. Therefore, showing the frequent confirmation dialogues for task accomplishments, not asking questions, task accomplishments, is not good. So how are you going to give the feedback? By progress bars popping up and disappearing, or some text somewhere at the bottom as status message or at the top, so that user will understand everything is going fine, and they just look at with the side view. They just look at briefly to the feedback and be happy. That is significantly important. Good interface indicates that save is in process by placing a message in the message area and changing the cursor to hourglass. When cursor changed to hourglass and then back to cursor, you briefly recognize that save is going on, even if it is not necessary, then you're happy. If there is an error, it has to be accompanied by help. So this is one example, progress in the upload. A progress bar is a good example of task accomplishment feedback about the status of upload. In some cases, you have this kind of button, and you choose. When you choose,
Hocam mikrofonunuz kapalıymış.
sesim geliyor mu diye sordum ben. Geliyor mu sesim?
Evet, şu an geliyor.
Okay. So name of the file appears. and you may think that the file is uploaded. There is one browse, and there is an upload. This is step 1. This is step 2. After step 1, after browse, file name .text appears here, or maybe here. Then the interface simultaneously expects you a secondary action, upload, in order to send it. But in some cases, this is not clear, and people forget to upload the file once they see their file name on the screen. So browsing and selecting the file is not equal to uploading. Why is it happening? Because in those interfaces, this progress is not shown, and when the progress is not shown, people believe that by seeing the file name .text on screen, the task is finished. They are not used to it. Therefore, whether the task is finished or not must be clearly identified. Otherwise, not all, but some people will make mistakes. Again, a positive example. The product was added to your cart. So subtotal is and checkout. So this is a good message. And there is another one. Continue shopping. So when you click on continue to shopping, the dialog disappears and you are taken back to store to buy additional things. They forgot that here. Again, error dialog. You type the password and it wasn't the right password. Try again. So this is an error message. You have to provide an error message and give a space. Give a space so that they can correct it. However, to my knowledge, this is not well visible. This has to be more significant. Some people may not see it. They don't read it. We have a tendency to look at the interfaces with cat eyes. Most users observe the interface with cat eyes, such as this. So they don't see everything. They see some major things. So the interface says enter password. They enter their password, and the interface keeps asking the same password. They don't see this. They may not see it. They may not read it. Therefore, it has to be a little bit bold in this case. They don't read it. And some of you, as developers, put these kind of messages on the right corner. The field is, it is common in some programming frameworks. The error message is placed on right-hand part of the screen or bottom, whereas the dialog is somewhere else. Okay? Then some people don't notice it at all. Some people notice it, starts reading, and the message disappears. So it is temporary message, like a 1 second or 2 seconds. Once you start reading it, it disappears and you forget what it was. That is dangerous. Don't do it. The navigation must be visible too. Most users cannot and will not build elaborate mental maps and will become lost and tired if they are expected to do so. People are expected to memorize the interface, and it is tiring. It has to be natural and visible. So how do we do it? We do it by presenting the illusion that users are always in the same place and the work brought to them. What is that? Remember the Egyptian kings? They were very rich and they are king. So all the things are brought to them. They don't go out. Everything is brought. So they feel superior. So in the interface, as I am using the navigation, as I am using the navigational tools, what I mean by navigation is the menus and different parts of the application. I should not feel like I am looking for something in a Chinatown or some unknown city in unknown streets because I can get lost. I should feel that things are presented to me and I am in the same place. So the concept of home is derived in the web-based interaction. Concept of home is developed from that concept. If you are at home, all the menus are brought to you and you feel confident. And in many cases, when you are using the phone, the home button, unfortunately, we don't have phone button. When you press home button multiple times, you feel confident. You feel confident that you are at the back, you are at the beginning, you are at the root. So all options are brought to you. That eliminates the need for maps from different perspectives. Or the only map is from the top down entry point map. So other navigational aids go this way, go that way. For example, continue shopping is navigational aid. View cart is navigational aid. This is progress. So this kind of understanding and memorizing these will not be necessary if all the simple actions are taking you to the top level. Unless there is a reason. So in that case, users will feel that they are in charge and they have more mastery and autonomy. Autonomy is good. They can do whatever they want. Even if they can't, they should feel like that. They shouldn't feel trapped. So matching between, I have a question. Do you see anything on the word system? Because I have a label on the word system indicating that stop sharing the screen. Do you see that?
No.
Okay, it's good. Because in my screen, there is a label saying stop sharing the screen. So matching between the system and the real world means use of icons, metaphors, the ways that we use to accomplish tasks is similar to what we do in virtual environments, such as buying something. When I am buying something, how do I proceed? I go there, like something, make a decision, pay, and get the thing and go away. So the transaction is done at the end of the sale. Also, when I am entering to the shop, in most cases, unless there is a specific shop, a campaign shop, nobody asks me an identity card. I go in the shop freely. Then when I am checking out, they may ask some ID for the club membership at the end. Usually, not always. Therefore, my understanding of sales, e-commerce, student registration, voting, okay, paying taxes online. How? First, you have to submit what you have earned, then make some calculations. Some tax is calculated. Then you are given with the options of pay now, pay later, pay in multiple installments, etc. So the general idea of accomplishing tasks must be similar in the computer domain. Therefore, do not, for example, do not force your users to authenticate themselves as the first thing in the application. Do not lock people out because you are a business owner. You want customers. When you want customers, do not lock people out because it is unusual to lock people out in real business, unless it's a military base, okay, or membership based entry thing, etc. Otherwise, not lock them. Even if there is an authentication required to complete the transaction, it is done at the end. That's one example. The second, trash can. In order to delete an eraser. This is also an eraser, but we are not using it. We are using the regular eraser. Do I have it? I have something else. Okay. So these are real world objects that could be used to construct the interface, such as I have a gauge. It's a real object. In the interface, it could be used, but is it real? Is it necessity? No. A digital display can just display numbers because the mechanical structure, needle structure, is not required on the interface. However, we still keep using these needle interfaces, gauges, because users are familiar with the object. Okay? They can understand it. So follow real-world conventions, making information appear in the natural and logical order, in the order they appear in the real life. So icons, the folders. These folders are common business item for the last 100 years or more in United States. Therefore, the desktop metaphors are mostly based on the office equipment and office artifacts used in the American offices. One of them is yellow folder. Yellow folders are very popular. Recycle bin is a new thing which is sometimes confused because some people may believe that their files will be reused and they don't want their files to be reused. Therefore, some people don't trust recycle bin. So they want trash better. Some others may want trash kind of wasting mechanism. They don't want to create trash because all the sustainability work in the world is saying that zero trash, zero trash, zero trash. So trash is also difficult to understand. I don't know, maybe deletion and erasing must be the term, because both recycle and trash has their own implications. This icon is related to music, a document. Download, not very good, but what the heck. So we call them real-world metaphors. Real-world metaphors are used to make the interface intuitive. That can initially help users perform tasks because they can apply and use previous knowledge to understand and use the system. If you overdo it, if you use icons that are too complicated, then it breaks down. It breaks down so that the interface becomes more confusing. So it must be carefully balanced. If you overdo the icons, everywhere is icon, everything is icon based, but you don't know which one is which, that will be more difficult. Therefore, the level of use of metaphors must be well balanced, and the level should be checked with the actual users. If they say it is difficult, then you should stop there. Usually, complex complex and abstract meanings cannot be conveyed cannot be given with the metaphors. So when you are trying to give abstract meaning with the metaphor, that makes a trouble. Therefore, in that case, intuition and simple interface, idiomatic, so multiple steps but understandable, combination of multiple things makes the interface understandable rather than giving a single icon. The interface should do what I want. And it has to bring me the necessary things, such as what user wants and needs must be anticipated, must be given, must be fulfilled. Do not expect users to search for or gather information or start necessary tools by themselves. Try to make them ready. Just like Egyptian kings, everything is brought to them and they feel superior. In Turkish, we say yalakalık, right? So that's a good term. So the software should act like that, so that the interface user, the user, feel superior. So bring the all tools and information needed for each step of the process to user. However, that shouldn't be overdone either. If you overdo it, then it becomes like you are superior, but the time you spend is only by signing the papers. You don't have any control. Everything is brought to you, and what you say is next, next, next, next, good, good, good, good, all day long. So presidents are like that, for example. Everything is brought to them, presidents. They are superior, but they may not have control because the nearby people are taking care of jobs and presenting them to sign. So it looks like he has in charge and he has in control, but in reality, what he or she does is only confirmation. Therefore, it is not good. There must be a balance and some freedom. So user control and freedom is the key to that. When you make a mistake, when you don't want it, and you should feel in control. If you make a mistake and will need a clearly emergency exit, then you feel that you are in control. For example, the close. If you know that during the process, for example, you are applying for the visa to a country, and there are multiple stages in the interface. You submit documents, fill the forms, next, next, next, next, next, next. Then you say, I don't want to go. Or so. Just click the close button. That'll be fine. You don't have anything to do. So you know that when you don't submit the last step, you can exit. And if you know it from the beginning, then you will be more free. Because you always say, if I do some mistake, I can always close. Right? Therefore, in many visa application or similar applications, passport application, visa application, government application, tax application systems, there is a last screen. And the last screen allows you to review everything. And if there is a mistake, you can correct it. And that is set from the beginning. They inform the user from the beginning that at the end, there will be a review. You can always review things and change it. One fact is, when you have multiple steps, these multiple steps are done in the right part of the screen. On the left part of the screen, there are steps. And step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 6, and last step. And then last step has submit and review and submit. So having intermediary steps on the left in clickable format allows you to think that if you make a mistake, you can go back and edit the information in the previous stage. So you are in control. It's not finished yet. I can always change what I want. Then you will be more comfortable. In shorter sense, supporting undo and redo is very significant. If the things can be undone, then you are more free and powerful. If undo is not possible, you will be more careful, slow. You will be shy because you don't want to destroy files, you don't want to destroy the picture you downloaded, you don't want to destroy the document. So undo is very important for user control. What I give as an example is, if you are driving a car, I have it, the next slide. If you are driving a car without insurance, you cannot go fast. You cannot turn corners in a short way, in a quick way, because you may make an accident, and if you make an accident and if you don't have any insurance, you are dead. I mean, it is very expensive. It is costly. But if you have insurance done, you are more confident. You are more confident, and you can speed a little bit more. You can take a little bit more risks of your car because there is an undo possibility. Unfortunately, if you die, there is no undo. Therefore, for example, the driving behavior in the computer games is not similar to the driving behavior in reality, because in computer games you can undo things, in reality you can't. So in the interface too, if you can undo things, you'll be more confident and you can explore and test things much better. And if there is no undo, technically, sometimes, because data is too big, etc., then you have to ask, are you really, really sure, kind of dialogues, and then it slows people down. Are you really, really sure? And obviously, it is necessary when you are, for example, when you are formatting a hard drive. When you are formatting the hard drive, you have to ask multiple times, are you sure we are erasing this, etc.? But uh, sometimes it is necessary. And in the in the WordPress, it says, for example, one page move to trash, undo. So it's nice. It gives you an option to get something from the trash. In the mail, some of you may not know it. Even if you delete the mail, it can be recovered. So if you are receiving a mail that nobody wants to see it, if you are criminal, even if you delete it, it can be seen by the admin and it can be recovered later. So under deleted items, but it's good because it gives you freedom in deletion. You can delete things much quicker way, because if you make a mistake, you know that if you make a mistake, you can undo it. So you can be more quick. Any questions? Then the autonomy. Let me do my job. Give me some space. Let me do my job. So it means all the environment belongs to user. But that doesn't mean that there are no rules. There are rules of the interface, but user is the boss. When user is the boss and in charge, he feels that, then he or she wants to use the interface. If it is the other way, if you feel that the software is guiding you, software is dictating you, then You don't want to use the interface. Therefore, the wording and the dialogues, the interface, actions, icons, always needs to imply and be polite that you are the master, you are the master, you are the in charge. Then people like it. Okay? If it is one, then two, then step three, and step four, step five. So if it is narrated story, users like e-learning application. In the e-learning application, if you are stuck with playing next, then you don't like it and you are bored. So in the e-learning application, for example, even if it is narrated linear, a linear website, you need to give some freedom to user to go back and forth and look for something else so that they don't feel trapped in the interface. If they feel that they are trapped in the interface, they will do something else. For example, you are listening to me now, some of you, and I should give you some freedom to talk to me and do some interaction. Otherwise, you don't like it. Pure listening may be okay for lecturing, but even for lecturing, it is not okay. I need to get some feedback from you, at least a smile, such as a smiley. Okay. So give some room to people is fine, but even if you have, when you are giving too much room, like a C prompt, do whatever you want. Okay. Space. Or Unix prompt. Do whatever you want. You are free. That is equally limiting. So they don't feel free in the absence of all the boundaries. That's an interesting study. They are given with everything. When you are given with everything, you are trapped because you don't know what to do. A little child would cry equally when held too tight or left to wander in a large and empty warehouse. If it is very large, empty warehouse, or even if it's full, you don't know what to do, and it is again limiting. The users feel comfortable in an environment that is neither confining nor infinite. So explorable, but not dangerous. It's like navigation. We have a navigation chapter in coming weeks. Navigation on streets is very similar to navigation in the interface. So it is neither should be infinite or very tight. It should be in the middle. So how do we achieve that? The status mechanism, status information mechanisms is key to that. When you are traveling with the hold on a second, I will find something, some example. Okay. So status mechanisms are vital to supplying the information necessary for workers to respond appropriately to changing conditions. When you cannot get, worker means user, when you cannot get status information, the user is cognitively loaded and try to establish the status and simulate in their minds. That will make a stress. I will give you an example. This, just edit this slide. I was looking for this image and briefly. What do you see there? It says lane ends 1500 feet and some route number 123. Fine. But on the right, oops, sorry. Activate the pen. On the right, you need an Interstate 95 road sign. Does it show any arrows? Şimdi sınıfta olsak hayır, no diyecektiniz. Şimdi öyle bir şey yok tabii. It doesn't show any signs. So what does it tell me? It tells me that I am on I-95, Interstate 95. I am on that. Therefore, I know that I am going south and I am on 95. So it's kind of an assurance that I am on the correct way. That makes me happy and makes my decisions more meaningful. So it is status message. It is not direct message, it is status message. In some I am going to find another one. I need to find a good example. Okay, I find another one. I'm going to show that too. Yeah. What's going on here? Again, in the middle of nowhere, there is no intersection. Okay, there is no intersection. You keep going, but suddenly you see the road sign. So it assures you that you are on the correct road. So it is kind of a status message. Therefore, on the interface, we need to keep the status information up to date and visible so that people can navigate in the interface or as in the example, in the road. They don't have to seek the status information. Similar things are important in airports, bus stations, trains. Status information must be visible all the time. You don't have to look for it. We should be able to glance. This is a keyword. We should be able to glance at their work environment and be able to gather at least first approximation of state and workload. It can be subtle. I mean, not very visible. Slowly penetrating information, but it is there. Inbox icon could be switched to shown from an empty to somewhat full or stuffed state, so that it informs you that you have mail. It shouldn't be asked. It shouldn't be overdone. There was a Mac trash can example. There was a trash. When you put things on the trash, it pops up showing that there is something in trash. And since it is a daily metaphor, people tend to dump the trash and give it to the truck every day. They tend to erase trash after they put something onto trash can. Therefore, one step deletion operation becomes two steps. One, putting item into trash. Two, emptying trash. So some users are doing it all the time. Put things into trash and delete from the trash twice. So overdone, overdoing is not good. When you are if anyone has been in United States, all the highways have exit numbers. Exit 1, exit 2, exit 3, exit 25. And when you are traveling from one place to another place, the exit numbers follow one after another. Do you know which exit number we exit in Gebze from the highway? Probably you don't remember because the information is not visible. The exit numbers in Turkish highway system is K24, for example, 34. K, meaning that kavşak, K dot, all right? So it is not visible because it is a separate plate next to the exit sign. And the information prior to exit is not given. Therefore, we want to look for all the time after İzmit, for example, is it Gebze yet? Is it Gebze yet? Is it Gebze yet? So it increases the cognitive load. Because if you are not familiar with the area, you have to check for all the names with the name provided in the address all the time. However, when it is exit 35, 34, 33, 30, 32, as you drive from Ankara to Istanbul, and if you are destined to exit at exit 24, you are happy because at the point of exit 35, probably in Bolu somewhere, you understand that there are many more exits, so I have a lot of time to go on. I don't pay much attention to what the exit is. I'm just counting the numbers and status of my progress. But providing Kocaeli, Gebze, Çayırova, Şekerpınar, right? These are only meaningful for people who are memorizing the geographical names. If you are not familiar with geographical names, you don't know whether Bolu is before or after Düzce. Which one is earlier? Therefore, the status information must be given in a correct way. Okay? This is extremely important. Let me give you another status. Okay, I have two images, one and all right, it's very good. So here you have two signs showing that exit 11, 111, 111A. So when you are driving and and you are at exit 80, okay, 80, then you say, I'm fine. I have a lot of exits, so I can stay on the left and be relaxed or have some rest in the station. Again, this information is attached to the information therefore I can connect the actual target task, which is in the case the address, to the indicator. So it's a good example. So much for the highways. So a good interface have good locus of control. The term locus of control is used for who is the boss, who is initiating the interaction. Am I responding to the questions of the computer, or am I using the computer? If I feel that I am using the computer, that means I am the locus of control. If I am entering what it asks, then locus of control is at computer. So what we should do is users should feel that they are directing the interaction. Because they might make mistakes, the design of the system should protect them from unrecoverable errors. Okay? All right. So let's give 5 minutes break. So come back at 12 o'clock. Is that okay?
Okay.
Evet arkadaşlar. Let's continue. Okay, we talked about locus of control and status information and gave the highway example. Locus of control is who is controlling, who is the boss. Okay, so the interface should behave like the person is at the center of the interaction, and the person is the boss, not the client. Now we will switch to feedback issue. A good interface, a superior interface, contains appropriate feedback. You do something, and the interface responds. You do another thing, its interface responds. So the actions of the results of the actions should be visible. Design positive messages for actions that the computer is completing. A good interface indicates that save is done by changing the cursor to the hourglass. So it's like a status message. Good error messages with the feedback. Consistency. Consistency is one of the quality indicators. Because quality is perception. It's a perceived parameter. Obviously, there are quality standards and it can be measured, but the market dynamics, the sales of the product and success of the product is okay. It is connected to quality that is measured, but also quality that is perceived, because that drives the market. It is therefore important to pay attention to the facts that are related to consistency and standards that is related to the quality. So users should not have to wonder whether different words, situations, or actions means the same thing. For example, cancel and back. When is it cancel? When is it back? When is it no, go back or back? The appearance of the buttons. So if there is a platform convention, if it is Windows application, if it is Linux application, the platform convention should be followed. The most important and critical consistency is the consistency with user expectations. If the user expects that, for example, the close button is in some place, that is the expectation, then you need to place that close button where the majority of users think that where it should be. The consistency between elements is important. So an interface must be designed so that its components are consistent both with other interfaces that are familiar to users and within the application itself. So the wording in the applications, the methods in the applications, the buttons, the icons, lines, fonts must be consistent within the application and with other applications, because you are not the only application that a person is using. It should be compatible to other applications because users like it that way. One famous example is the ignition key of the old Saab cars. I don't know if it is the same. Who has the Saab? Saab is bankrupt and gone. Purchased by Chinese company. But the famous difference with Saab is the ignition key is next to the gearbox. So if you are used to other cars and got into the car as a valet driver, and you have the key. Where is my key? Anyway, you have the key. I don't have Saab, by the way. You got the key, get into the car, and you spend 5 minutes to find where the key is because you can't start the car. One of my friends faced this situation when we were students. He was working as a valet parking driver in a garage, and he got the key of the Saab and spent a lot of time trying to find where the key goes into. So it wasn't consistent. Since it wasn't consistent, it creates problems. Again, Porsche has the ignition key on the other side. Normally it is on the right side, but some cars have ignition key on the left side. So it creates problems because when you turn them, you are confused where to turn it, clockwise or counterclockwise. Makes difference with my left key or right key. When there are multiple applications, look and feel of the interface must be similar to other applications that are familiar to users. It is reflected in how the components in the windows are designed, such as size, color, position, or functionalities, how they behave. When you click on them, do they go down or the dialog disappears without button movement? It has to be consistent. If you make some windows, some dialogs go away without mouse clicking down on the button, in some others with clicking down on the button, that creates confusion. Therefore, they have to be consistent. They have to behave the same way. Within application consistency is more interesting. If multiple people are developing the application, multiple friends or a team, each team member is developing his or her own way of interacting with the user. All of them are full stack developers. So interaction is different. Interaction visualization is different from different perspective of different developers. Then when you bring them together, compile them together, the overall interface will be broken because within application consistency is not available. Therefore, common controls and standards must be ensured in a project, in a single project, so that the wording, behavior, functional behavior, such as showing something, showing control buttons somewhere, and selecting and saving and continuing, submitting something, submitting with separate button or submitting with the continue. So those kind of things must be consistent the same way throughout the application. Save button should always function the same way. If you are providing feedback after one save, you should provide feedback from the other saves, because people want to think simply. So simple thinking is provided with similarity. Search must be consistent. This is from a book. Search is usually associated with magnifying glass. Sometimes it is with binoculars, black binoculars. Used to be some search. Some people search with binoculars, some people search with magnifiers. Today it's mostly magnifiers. But S, it was used with S. We have to think twice if the magnifier, the icon was changed to S or not, or is it Skype or search? Therefore, one needs to be careful in consistency. There are different levels of consistency. One of them is interpretation of user behavior. For example, if I move the mouse down, my screen scrolls up, right? In a document. If it is a map, they move in the same way. If I rotate the wheel, the behavior of the document is either up or down. It must be consistent throughout the platform. Otherwise, for each application, for each case, I have to readjust myself. So the most fundamental consistency, level 1 consistency, is interpretation of user behavior. Second is invisible structures, such as boundaries, such as grids. Grids are small visible structures sometimes. Invisible structures are like boundary of the window. Do we have a boundary of the window or not? For example, now I am using dual monitor setup. That's why I am looking at here, because the monitor I am showing the contents are on my right. So when I am moving things on screen from left to right, sometimes they stop at the edge of the screen. Sometimes they continue to the other screen if the second screen is attached. Therefore, my work with the icons, desktop elements, change when second monitor is connected and when second monitor is not connected. That creates a problem. But I have to live with it because I am changing the configuration. So those kind of invisible structures, boundaries, window boundaries also, are one level of consistency. Then grids and small visible structures. Then level 4 is overall look of single application or service. General look is consistent, symmetrical, and made up of similar elements. 5, when you have a suite of products, Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office looks like each other. The elements look like each other in the suite, so that it is developed by the same company and same team in the same years. They look like the same. Then, if there is a software house like Logo, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, more Facebook, right? Meta. That is what we call in-house consistency. So the Facebook family applications, Oracle family applications have similar interface style, similar look and feel, and similar functioning. And lastly, when you have a platform like Linux, macOS, iOS, Android, the application you developed should conform to that platform. Then we can call it as platform consistency. That is the weakest one. But consistency is good, but also we need some inconsistency. What is that? If we make the interface too consistent, it will look like a military base where you cannot differentiate, or social housing where you cannot differentiate between elements. So you need to create some inconsistency throughout the application with different images, different sections. I am not saying use different fonts. I am not saying do different sizes for the icons, but I am saying that some pictures somewhere, some different color somewhere in a proportional way, so that people will remember where they are when they are doing something. And if they are in an incorrect place, they will remember from those cues. So it is important to be visually inconsistent when things must act differently, such as if the button is important, critical button, make it red. Don't make all the buttons in the same way. Okay? So avoiding uniformity in the interface is good. Don't make everything similar. Make objects that act differently also look different, because result of the actions should not be discovered by testing. They should be estimated before you interact with them, just by looking. And we call them affordance. So that's why when they are developing new houses in good architectural companies and in countries with good city planning, they don't make every building the same. They don't make it that way. Even if it is built by the same company, they build the houses differently. They make the curves in the streets. Even if it is open area, they don't make it like this. No, this is no good. They make it irregular so that it will be more pleasing and more usable. You don't forget where you are, and you can go back to your home without counting the door numbers. Okay? So this way, even if they are built at the same level, same company, they look different, so it will be more usable and pleasing. In the hotels, it is very common to get confused by the level or by the direction when you exit from the elevator. In order to prevent the confusion, okay? In order to prevent the confusion, they put some small items at the exit of the elevator. So when you exit, and those are different in good hotels, different pictures, for example. You remember the picture. unintentionally. You don't have to memorize it, but unintentionally, as a background process, you memorize it. And when you come back later, you can tell that you are in the correct place or you are in an incorrect place. This is not the place I was yesterday. And you realize that you have to go back to the elevator and take the other floor, or you have to go to the other side of the corridor for your room. So good navigation is connected with non-uniformity. If we make all the streets like military base, it will be very difficult to navigate in streets and find your place, because you will be counting and looking at the signs like you are in an airport. Even if in the airport there are some stores, Burger King and something else, therefore, as you go through your way, you remember certain landmarks in the airport. So you use those landmarks for navigation. You don't only use the signs. Then, is it boring? Are you enjoying? Let me get the okay, wait a second. Attendance. Okay. When we are designing an interface, the functionality and appearance of the design elements should be natural. What I mean by that is, if it's a price calculation sheet, it should be based on the paper version, because what user has in their mind is a paper sheet connected to some other places and have some information. So form and functionality must be similar to real life scenario. And it must be based on how task is completed by user. Sending money. For example, Ömer is going to send money to Ayşegül. Okay? Through the interface. How do you do it? You may vektörlük arıyor. Efendim? Dinliyorum. Şu an dersteyim ama hızlıca söylerseniz dönüş yaparım. Bugün mü? Ha. Siz bir mail atabilir misiniz? Tamam, tamam. Okay. So how Ömer is going to send money to Ayşegül? Must be some account number, and there must be a top ledger to send money. So you will tell that top manager institution, whatever, bank or post office or some authority, to send money to the other side. by giving the ID number and phone number or something like that. So how you think the task is accomplished is important. Our interface must reflect that. How Ömer thinks the business must be the key. So interface should reflect that, should not dictate something totally different, unless there is a reason. Sometimes there are reasons. So if there is a explainable reason, there is always a B plan. Therefore, interface should reflect the structure of underlying application based on user's mental model. So it is not how it is actually conceived by the developer, it is how it is envisioned by the user. As doing it, you need to prevent errors. As we say, error is natural. It will happen. It will continue to happen. We are not robots. So, good error messages are good. But a better thing is prevention of errors. Prevention of errors is very interesting. Either eliminate error-causing conditions and check with the users before they submit the form or before they finalize the action, or totally eliminate the error by changing design. By changing design, we can eliminate a lot of errors. So you should give a try and think about, when you design an interface, how people will make errors, and try to think about it, what I can do for eliminating the case, the error causing case, eliminating the error causing workflow. You may play with the workflow in the interface, then the error can totally be eliminated. Such as this. This is a bad example. One of the issues that Jakob Nielsen talks is the recognition rather than recall. Remembering is costly. Therefore, present the selections, put the menus, in whatever form, give the menu, give the selections, and let user decide. So user should not have to remember information. Also from part of the dialogue to the other. You say something, close the window, and in the next window, you ask for it. People cannot remember. Therefore, it's not a memory test. Therefore, you should present the necessary information to user all the time. Also, if there are instructions, it should be brief and easily retrievable whenever is appropriate. A small I XYZ set. That's a button. Okay. And there is a small information next to it if it is too important. So when you click on this I symbol, information symbol, or sometimes question mark is fine, then the information about the purpose of this button can be explained briefly. Hover technique used to be on the web, used to be designed for alternative access, people with disabilities, and other interaction. But hover is not solely designed for help because, or explanation, because you have to move over it. Sometimes it is helpful, but you cannot solely design. If there is an information, put I symbol or question mark symbol next to the element. Because whether I have hover, such as when you go over it, an image pops up, right? Or text pops up. That's what we call hover. Over the text. You don't know whether it is going to come up or not. You don't know it before going over it. That is the wrong part. That is the incorrect part of the hover style, because you never know that there will be an information if you go over the button. Okay? It's less usable. Smart search is recognition. You start writing and similar items are brought. Okay. Elasticsearch. This Elasticsearch allows us to interact with users using search-based navigation. Search-based navigation is commonly used by young generation. Most of you are using search-based navigation, either Google or within the application, within the operating system. Some people use search-based navigation and within the website also. Therefore, that kind of navigation must be supported with additional helpers, and that makes it easier. Menu is recognition in general. When we have menu, they are available. Since they are available, you don't have to remember the command. When you are using menus, 8 hours a day, it becomes difficult. It becomes time-consuming to select from the top menu and click the second, click another one, and select the last one. It becomes difficult. Therefore, keyboard equivalents and some shortcuts should be provided for what we call power users. Power users are the users that use the same application most of the time, all the time, like tax revenue workers or bank workers. Remember, keyboard is always faster than mouse. Therefore, when you are interacting with complex screens with the power users, keyboard interaction is the way to go, and it is less tiring. Moving your arm from and to the keyboard is difficult. Therefore, it is good but difficult. Therefore, try to keep the hands for power users. Try to keep the hands on keyboard. To do that, tab keys, space keys, enter keys, and arrow keys must be used efficiently. That is what we say on control keys and shortcuts. So that is what we call accelerators. Never seen by novice users, but expert users, power users can use them in very quick and fashionable way. Also, you may allow users to change actions, settings for quick operations. If it's a complex application, like as follows, you can define control equivalence of certain functions with the keyboard so that it will be quick. This is for the Facebook. So even Facebook has accelerators. Not all people are the same. A superior interface is adaptable in both its structure and ability to be customized for different levels of users. In order to adapt different levels of users, the interface should contain different ways to complete the task, not single way. Unless it is a voting machine or unless it is a ticket machine, which is rarely used and also used infrequently by the user. In those cases, there is only one way to do one thing. Even then, you can use map or you can use train number to get the ticket. There could be multiple ways to reach your ticket for determining which train you want to take and which train you should take in order to get to destination and get the ticket. But generally, frequently used systems have more flexibility in accommodating levels because some people use it in a power user fashion. Some users use it from time to time. Therefore, different levels of users must be accommodated to be successful. Many complex software applications offer users ability to customize some interface features, which is good. The interface should still present defaults for users, but also, like control keys, also allow them to change any that don't affect the functionality of the application. Icons are organized. Location of trash or recycle bin is known, but you can change it. You can change the location of the trash. Desktop metaphor. I think it's dying. Today, I don't think people are mostly using file managers with big icons and believing that they are similar to desktops in the old case. We are mostly interested in file systems, and we can, as a general computer user, now we can understand file list as a real life object because it became a reality. Then many user interfaces do not have to rely on real life analogy of file metaphor. A list will be sufficient in order to give them understanding. You don't have to pictorially represent the files as much as in the old days. Because the level of the user is dramatically changed over the last 20 years. Minimalism. Dialogues should not contain too much information. When you are saying something, say briefly, so that people will read it. Every extra unit of information in a dialogue competes with the relevant units of information and reduces their visibility. Because if there is too much thing, there are too much thing in the dialogue, people don't read and close it. It happened to one of my friends yesterday. A big message, and I'm okay or cancel somewhere. Big message, error message. They wanted to run YouTube on some platform. The message was actually explaining you need to update the browser. It was saying you need to update the browser, but the message was too long and there were too many things in the dialogue. They didn't read and they closed it. There was an error message that they couldn't understand. But instead, the message could say, you need to upgrade the browser. In that case, the message would be read. So every extra unit of information in a dialogue competes with the relevant units. Don't talk too much. Too much talk, there is an old Turkish proverb. Too much talk always includes some lies. Okay? So being brief and short, Google design strategy is following that. As opposed to Microsoft. Microsoft is more complicated. Traditionally, they are trying to change it, but traditionally it's complicated because it was trying to give us a lot. But giving a lot is not giving a lot. Maybe it is giving less. So Google reduced the clutter in the interface. In this dialog, for example, it expects my email and password, and that's it, nothing else. When error happens, it must be presented in the way that I can understand and I can recover. Server error. And try to refresh this page or feel free to contact us. How? Who are you? And if the problem persists. But at least you get an error. It is not a freeze. It could be freeze. Any questions? So, what's efficiency? A superior interface should make the task completion efficient. And by the efficiency means not the computer's efficiency, the user's efficiency. The energy, the mental energy, and the time I spent to finish the task. If I can finish the task in 60 seconds, it is something. If I can finish the task in 40 seconds, it's another thing. So this is more efficient. But this one, if this one creates cognitive load and stress, if this is more stressful, maybe I can live with 60 seconds because the cost, therefore efficiency, is not only the time, but also mental effort together. So there is a balance. So we should look for the user's productivity, not the computer's productivity. When designing data entry screens, for example, defaults for commonly entered data should be used, such as the tax rate. The default tax rate was 18% last year. This year it is 20%. So 20% tax rate in a sales automation should be default value. We should not expect operator to enter 20 as a tax rate all the time because it is 20 for the most cases. for the standard hotkeys, like copy, paste, or similar things, increases the productivity. When designing retrieval screens, smart lists increases the productivity. Okay. One interesting example I have been giving, and this is from the book, in Donald Norman's book too. 1 minute and 10 seconds or 1 minute and 11 seconds. Which one is faster? 1 minute and 11 seconds is faster because what you press is 1, 1, 1, enter. 1, 1, 1, enter is much easier than 1, 1, 0, enter. Because in order to press 0, you need to leave the button, find the 0, go there, and then find the enter, go there, which is more costly. So technically it is faster, but in terms of user interface, it is slower. In one interface, we are expected to rate projects with grades from 1 to 10. Okay? They expect us to rate projects from 1 to 10 in 10 different, maybe 12, 10 different dialog boxes. A lot of typing. So instead of giving grade as 10, I mostly enter 9. I give 9 because giving 9 is much easier than giving 10 in terms of the keyboard action. Much efficient, much more efficient. So many projects are getting 9 from me just because it is harder to enter 10. Instead, in that case, I would change the interface to rate from 0 to 9 as a C programmer, because in programming language C, numbers start from 0 to 9. If you are counting to 10, it's from 0 to 9, not to 1 to 10. So I would do that if it is a repeated form filling. If it is one-time entry, no problem. You can type 10. 10 is fine. But if you are typing the same number 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 too much, it won't be efficient. So I would rather give 9 as a grade instead of 10. If the computer is efficient, or some computation is efficient, that doesn't mean that the system is efficient. Anytime the user is expecting computer to respond, anytime you are waiting, it is lost time. Therefore, anytime you are spending your time with something on the computer, it is lost. Actually, the time we spend with our computers is lost, except gaming. Because in gaming or watching films, we are doing it on purpose. Or if we are reading a newspaper on screen, we are benefiting from the interaction. We are getting satisfied from the interaction. Other tasks are all wasted. Normally, you should go to mountains, get some fresh air, live your life, right? Don't sit in front of the computer. So why do people sit in front of the computers? Because they have to do some work. In a capitalist world today, They have to make some money and earn and then keep living. Therefore, any time except gaming and reading and watching is lost. Therefore, we need to make it short to increase the efficiency. A visa application, a tax application, an application to the school, application to Erasmus office must be as short as possible so that it becomes your actual living reason. It's a side unnecessary interaction. So anytime you spend against the computer is lost time. Therefore, in order to increase the efficiency, maximize everyone's efficiency, not only one. Particular. There is again in the books, there is a famous California company example that has been given as a big example in operations, because even today we see certain issues like that, and we need to eliminate that approach when designing the systems. The example was large California corporation used floppy disks at that time as the medium for collecting benefit enrollment information. Aile yardımı. So they need to enter how many children they have, were they married, and anybody who is needing additional help, etc., disability information. So some private information about the person to get additional salary benefits in a big company. Normally, every year, it was done by the paper. It was done by the paper, and the people were filling the forms. And another person in the office, when they collect the forms, a person in the office was entering them into the computer, and they were recorded. Instead, they decided to put a small program in the floppy. People were given with the floppy. They typed the information themselves and returned the disk. Unfortunately, it was disk. It wasn't the network time. It was they will return the disk, and the computer center will upload the information from the disk. Fine. Sounds okay, but the problem was each person spent half an hour to start the program, take the floppy, put the information. Because they were not comfortable with the user interface, it took more time than the paper. And the total spent time with the 5,000, it was 5,000, I think, or 4,000. 5,000 employees times half an hour, 2,500 hours of valuable labor is lost. So they reduced the time in the computer center for reading the papers to computer, but they distributed the inefficiency to others, which is totally wrong. So when you are designing a system, information system, it may, at the beginning, it may be an efficiency increase, but at the end, the total efficiency decreases. For example, our famous, one of the pioneers in computer science and computer graphics is the inventor of the frame buffer and bitmap computer graphics is Ivan Sutherland. in Ivan Sutherland, in one talk, complains about outsourcing the ticket sales. In the ticket sales in Sun Microsystems, it was a big computer company. He was the second chairman of the company. He said there was a secretary in the company who was responsible for the travel, and I was calling her or him to get a ticket for Paris or London next week for me, then shut it down. The rest will be handled by the secretary. And it was a big company. There are multiple people going multiple places. And he said the secretary knew my style, knew that I am going to fly with business. They know what I eat. They know what I prefer. They know when I am going to fly, at what time, and they know where do I live. So I don't have to deal with all the preferences because she knows my position, etc. She arranges everything and I just get the ticket. He said, now, in order to optimize the process, they transfer the ticket things to the outsourced company, outsourced travel agency. He said he has to call travel agency, talk to a person each time a new person who doesn't know anything about who the guy is, what the necessary constraints are. So he says he spends 20 minutes in order to explain what kind of ticket, when, from where, etc. 20 minutes. 20 minutes of general manager's time versus an additional travel consultant in the company. So efficiency is therefore debatable thing, and whose efficiency? Against the interface, sometimes the new process may look efficient, but actually it may create additional burden for the end user. So you need to think about the end user. If the end user is spending more time, and if the multiple end users are spending more time, more work time is lost. Yeah, I have explained. And also I explained this, the architectural efficiency. Our goal must be making user productivity #1 goal. And to understand the difference between building an efficient system and empowering an efficient user. So system efficiency and efficient user are debatable. In order to solve this problem, need for close and constant cooperation, communication, and conspiracy between engineers and human interface designers is necessary. Continuous connection in designing and engineering is necessary. I am going to show you one example as the last thing. I'm going to stop at one. In the interface, you have insert, that's the top menu. In the insert menu, when you click on it, it goes down. Insert page break, add footnote, update table of content. What? Insert page break. When designing pull-down menus, you should not repeat this word, because as you click in your mind, you are reading it together. Click on insert new menu, insert page break, insert footnote. So as you click, you read together. That is one of the principles in designing menus. You need to be designing them so that when they are read out loud, they shouldn't sound awkward. Because when selecting menus, you are reading from inside. Therefore, insert page break is no good. Okay? This is one efficiency example. I have two more slides. Defaults must blow away. Fields containing defaults should be readily available. They should be intelligent. And in English, the word default is associated with bankruptcy. Okay, if it's English. So instead of defaults, factory settings, initial settings, base values, etc. So if possible, try to use other words than defaults. Default is an old computer old computer programmer jargon, which is not suitable for end user side. And lastly, help and documentation must be available. A good system should provide help in a nice and available way. Easy to search, focused on user task, so context-sensitive help, and list of concrete steps to be carried out, not to be too large. And it's difficult. In some design scenarios, engineers are asked to design help documentation before starting the application. You are required to generate help document and then write the application. If you do that, you understand what you do, what will you do in a very strong manner. A typical help is how can I help you, and search-based help is as follows. So today I summarized these principles. In different locations, there are other versions of it. For example, simplicity, consistency, discoverability, structure, clarity, control, affordance, tolerance, ergonomics. So different authors create other guidelines, but the most known guideline for user interface design is Nielsen's guide, Jacob Nielsen, Donald Norman guidelines. 10 principles are accepted as golden rules, and these are other rules. You can get it from the class lectures. So I am stopping the recording, and if you have any questions, I am happy to help and answer.